women are too sensitive to criticism. It often starts with a seemingly casual remark, a short sentence said lightly. Yet it cuts deep, affecting careers, relationships, and one's self-image, like a quiet poison that isn't immediately obvious, but slowly takes hold over time. And yet, a crucial question arises. What if what is often seen as a weakness, our sensitivity, is actually a quiet form of strength? Perhaps it's not about feeling less or toughening up, but about sharpening the mind, consciously guiding thoughts, feelings, and actions, instead of being swept away by them. Many women have learned to take criticism professionally. They stay silent, smile, and yield, trying to appear composed. Others choose open resistance, fighting back, raising their voices, pushing against it. But both approaches come at a cost. Criticism, then, doesn't just target an action or an idea. It strikes at identity itself, and suddenly, a distance forms from oneself. Roles take the lead: the tough one, the calm one, the understanding one, the invulnerable one. But beneath these masks lies a quiet question. Who am I really? When I stop just reacting. This is precisely where Stoicism opens a new path, a philosophy that shines not through volume, but through depth. Born in ancient Greece, refined in the Roman Empire, it acts today like an inner backbone, not a cold defense mechanism, but a calm, steady core amid the storm. A Stoic woman does not shut herself off. She remains open, yet aware, not numb, but clear about what she feels. She meets injustice not with anger, but with dignity. Her reaction is not an impulsive defense, but a conscious choice. Sexism does not always appear openly. Sometimes it's just a side comment, a jab disguised as a joke, or a subtle doubt cast on one's competence. Should I ignore it? Am I overreacting? Am I too sensitive? These questions drain inner peace because they lead to reactions born not of clarity, but exhaustion. The Stoics knew such thoughtless reactions cost us more than they help. They cost us ourselves. But what if there were another way? One that doesn't play the victim, but doesn't counterattack either. What if even unfair criticism didn't have to be seen as an attack on the self, but as an opportunity to remain grounded in one's own stance? Stoicism is not withdrawal. It is a position, not rigid endurance, but a conscious pause. And maybe this is exactly the attitude women need today. An inner strength that doesn't require external validation, because it comes from within. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Criticism only has as much power as we give it. Sexism only wounds if it penetrates our inner self. Disrespect only shakes us if it touches our dignity. The Stoic woman recognizes this mechanism and steps out of the game. She does not ask, "How do I win?" but "How do I remain clear and calm?" The path does not start with a perfect answer, but with a decision. I am not here to convince everyone, not to explain myself. I stay true to my principles. This disarms criticism. It does not hit a vulnerable ego, but consciousness, a consciousness that knows. Some words are just wind. Some opinions reflect the insecurities of others. And sometimes, the noblest response is what Marcus Aurelius called quiet greatness. Stoicism is not theory, but daily practice. It is not a call to feel less, but to gain more clarity. The following chapters will show how Stoic women deal with criticism, how emotional strength can develop without hardening, how to be calm instead of struck, and how criticism can be understood anew.
Every insight matters. Don't miss it. Every woman deserves to walk through life with calm and clarity. Subscribe and grow with every video.
A woman stands in a meeting. She has just presented her project. Thoughtful, carefully prepared, with calm confidence. Yet, while her words still echo in the room, a voice from the back row sounds up. The tone casual, the content cutting. Sounds nice, but maybe it's a bit unrealistic. For a moment, the room seems to freeze. A few fleeting glances, a brief hesitation, a barely perceptible trace of mockery in the air. And then what many know happens. Time stands still. Heartbeat, thoughts, impulses stagger. What should I do now? Defend myself, retort, or just stay silent? But this woman decides differently, not because she's emotionless, but because she has learned something else. Stoicism has taught her to distinguish between what she can control and what is beyond her power, between what she carries inside and what comes from outside. The comment says more about the speaker than about herself, and therein lies her freedom. Instead of reacting impulsively, she recalls an old Stoic wisdom. Only her own judgment, her own intention, her own action truly belong to her. Everything else, other people's opinions, criticism, even praise, belongs to the outside world, and the outside world is not her possession. She breathes and gathers her thoughts. Then she answers calmly, clear and firm, without harshness. Thank you for the feedback. I look forward to exploring this together. No need to prove herself right, no withdrawal, no harsh words in return. Instead, she answers with dignity, the kind of dignity that does not need to raise its voice to be heard. The other may have hoped for an emotional reaction, some insecurity, maybe even a little outburst, but instead they meet something unexpected, inner strength, and suddenly the attack loses its power. Because in a world that demands immediate reaction almost reflexively, calmness is a quiet form of resistance. Those who don't shoot back immediately, but pause. Make it unmistakably clear. I am not the product of your words. I am the result of my attitude. She stands like a deeply rooted oak in the storm. She may bend, but she does not fall. Not out of stubbornness, not out of coldness, but out of clarity, out of conscious decision. A second example, everyday life in the family. It happens in private life too. A family member says with a sly smile, "You've always been so sensitive since childhood. Some people never change." In the past, this would have hurt her, reopened old wounds, and put her back into old roles. Today, the Stoic woman meets it differently, not with defiance, not with withdrawal, but with inner distance. She recognizes. That's a sentence from the past, but I live in the present, Seneca wrote. It is not what is said that hurts, but the willingness to be hurt by it. A Stoic woman hears the sentence and lets it pass like a train she does not want to board. She notices it, but does not identify with it, because she knows only those who are at war with themselves have to react to every attack. Third scene, social media and digital criticism. On social networks, it's even more direct. A comment under a post. What qualifies you to talk about this anyway? Orient. You're just seeking attention. Typical. Thousands see the comment, and many just scroll past, but it still hits and hurts you. The Stoic woman, however, asks herself, is this opinion relevant? Does it bring me closer to my values? What would Hypatia, the first great female philosopher of antiquity, do in this situation? Hypatia taught in the 4th century. In a man's world, she was threatened, but always remained true to herself. She debated, wrote, educated men, always with calm clarity. A Stoic woman like Hypatia would say. I give this comment no energy. Maybe she deletes it. Maybe she ignores it. Maybe she says, "Thank you for your view. My path remains mine." Because not every opinion deserves a stage, and not every counter-argument deserves a response. Whether in the office, the living room, or online, the same truth shows itself. Criticism is not the problem. The reaction to it decides. Stoic women don't build walls. They root themselves deeper. They don't lose themselves in emotions. They gain clarity because true strength is not about never being hit. It is about being hit and still standing. Many women have grown up with phrases like, "Don't show it. Be strong. Don't show weakness." These are guiding sayings meant to act like shields, but they carry a dangerous message beneath the surface, because between the lines, it is implied that emotions equal weakness. Vulnerability means failure, and gentleness is a disadvantage. And so a generation of women grows up who seem to have everything under control on the outside. They manage their everyday lives, carry responsibility, and hold their ground. But deep inside, many of these women feel empty, not because they are too emotional, but because they have locked away their feelings too often. Especially in this context, Stoicism is often misunderstood. Many believe it means coldness and hardness, or putting on a mask, constantly denying everything that is felt. But that is not Stoicism, that is self-denial. Seneca already warned, those who deny their feelings will not be free. They will only become sick. The true Stoic path doesn't begin with suppression, but with recognition, with understanding, and consciously guiding the inner stirrings. Imagine a woman who has worked passionately on a project for months. She contributes her ideas, shows commitment, carries responsibility, but during the presentation, hardly any attention is paid to her contribution. Instead, a colleague who was only marginally involved is praised. The reaction doesn't take long to come. Anger, disappointment, maybe tears. And all of that is understandable. The Stoic woman allows herself to feel this. But she does not get stuck in that wave. Instead, she asks herself, what is within my power? To whom do I give power over me through my reaction? And above all, what would be a response that lifts me up instead of burning me out? Emotional strength is not a gift. It is a muscle that grows through stress, but only if it also gets space to recover. Stoic women allow themselves both the honesty of emotions and the discipline of reflection. They feel anger, but do not let it drive them to destruction. They allow sadness, but don't sink into it. They celebrate joy, and yet don't cling to it. At the same time, they train their inner compass. They write down what moved them. They ask themselves questions. Was my reaction helpful? What can I learn from this? Not to become perfect, but to stay awake. Because those who know themselves are less vulnerable to the whirlpools of emotions. The Stoic woman knows her principles: justice, dignity, clarity, and self-respect. When criticism hits her, she looks deep inside herself. Am I violating any of my principles? If not, she remains calm and composed. If yes, she grows from it and matures with every experience. This is not hardness. This is clarity with heart. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, wrote, Be like a rock against which the waves endlessly crash, yet it remains unmoved. But he also added, man is not made to remain untouched, but to act consciously. This is exactly where the balance lies, between compassion and measure, between sensitivity and determination. This attitude is not a modern concept. It has a history. Hypatia, for example, the philosopher of Alexandria, lived it. Empress Theodora, who gave backbone to her husband, did as well. Or Hannah Arendt, who preserved mental clarity in dark times. All these women showed, first, you can be strong and still remain gentle. Second, you can grow and not lose yourself in the process. Third, you can speak softly and still be heard. Strength does not mean shutting yourself off. It means having access to your own feelings without being overwhelmed by them. The Stoic woman stands firm, but not hard. She feels, but does not lose herself in feelings. She stays true to herself, even when the world challenges her. Because true strength is not the silence of emotions. True strength is to lead your own inner voice clearly and calmly through every storm. A new perspective on criticism. What if criticism wasn't an enemy, but rather a mirror or maybe even a test? What if it is a gift, just wrapped inconveniently? The Stoic woman doesn't see criticism as a mere attack, but as an opportunity for self-reflection. She asks herself questions like, what can I learn from this? Orient, which part really concerns me? And what can I safely let pass by? Because not every criticism is destructive, but every criticism holds a moment of decision. Do I want to accept it, question it, or let it go? Some words come from envy, insecurity, or frustration. They want to belittle, not help. Others contain a kernel of truth, even if it is uncomfortable. The Stoic woman takes the time to examine where the criticism is coming from. Is the other person speaking with goodwill and clarity, or out of their own hurt? This distinction helps her stay open, without becoming hardened. After the birth of her child, everything is suddenly new for a woman. Feelings, responsibility, doubts, everything is in motion. And then comes the voice of the mother-in-law, sweet and seemingly harmless. We used to do it differently, but you'll know best. A sentence that hits, even though you didn't want it to. The Stoic woman breathes deeply, listens, and replies calmly, thank you for your view. I am finding my way. No resistance, no retreat, simply clarity and dignity. Just like Marcus Aurelius, who wrote to himself daily. The Stoic woman also takes time to reflect. In the evening, she asked herself, where did I react impulsively and where with care? What would I like to do differently tomorrow? This way, criticism becomes something valuable, an inner compass instead of a weapon, because criticism only truly cuts deep when doubts are already gnawing inside us. Those who know themselves and live their own values are less vulnerable because they know which voices to take seriously. The philosopher Epictetus put it this way: no one can hurt you without your consent. Imagine a woman living in a conservative environment. Her opinion is laughed at, her ambition dismissed as excessive, yet she stays true to herself, not out of defiance, but out of conviction. Criticism is like fire. It can burn, or it can purify. The Stoic woman decides which happens. She does not claim to be perfect, but she says clearly, I grow, unwavering. Because in the end, criticism is only a sound, and only she decides whether it becomes noise or music. In the beginning, there was a bold statement. The Stoic woman doesn't react to sexism and criticism because she thinks bigger, a sentence that provokes. Because reacting does not necessarily mean going into battle, and not fighting doesn't automatically mean staying silent. The Stoic attitude is not a sign of passivity, but a conscious choice. It's not the loudest path that counts, but the most effective. Many confuse calmness with weakness. In a world where loudness is often mistaken for strength, the impression arises that only those who raise their voice get heard. Yet, it is precisely in silence that a power lies, deep and far-reaching. History was not only written by those who shouted, but also by those who responded with composure. Sophie Scholl wrote quiet letters, and her words still echo today. Rosa Parks said a single no, without outrage, without anger, and sparked a movement. Simone Weil lived uncompromisingly by her principles, without ever raising her voice. It is this form of dignity that gives the Stoic attitude its core, not fighting against others, but standing up for oneself. Epictetus, once a slave himself, recognized, free is the one who masters himself. And especially today, we see how many people, particularly women, live in a state of outward freedom, yet are chained inside, trapped in expectations, self-doubt, the compulsion to always appear strong, beautiful, and smart at the same time. The Stoic woman opens a space within herself that remains untouched. No matter what comes at her from the outside, in this space lies her dignity. There she is safe. Imagine an uncomfortable situation, a sexist joke, a stupid comment at the office, followed by expectant laughter. Instead of raising her voice or withdrawing, she calmly looks up, not angry, not submissive, but clear, and says, "You can talk like that, but I don't have to take it seriously. Orient, you have your view. I'll stick to mine. No drama, no scene." And yet, something changes in the room. True strength whispers. It doesn't need a stage. Living stoically doesn't mean being invulnerable. It means learning from setbacks, getting up again, and staying true to yourself even when others don't. It's a path that begins with self-knowledge and ends in inner peace. Women today live amid contradictions. They are supposed to be strong, but not intimidating, beautiful, but modest, please, smart, but not too much, emotional, but controlled. Stoicism doesn't offer a rigid code, but a tool, an inner framework that carries through these contradictions. Reacting doesn't necessarily mean having the last word. Sometimes it means a calm look, a clear breath, a step back to avoid acting on impulse. The Stoic woman is no spectator of her life. She directs it and takes action, and she writes the script herself that fits her best. This woman is not an abstract figure. She exists at every age, in every city, in countless small everyday scenes. She is not loud, but she is upright. Stoicism is not a theory you study and then forget. It is a daily decision, and whoever makes it knows. Calmness is not weakness. It is the highest form of power